Hey, welcome back. Here in Ohio, we're basically starting up on next contract, starting up on the first. Back in the States, long gone from Colombia. The vacation is over, and so we're back here in the States. And of course, I came across another article about how more energy companies are going to be nationalized, and of course, this is going to cause more shortages. This, of course, is from the Motley Fool. This one is dated, I believe, from June, and this is from June 12th, 2022. It says Mexico hits road bump en route to nationalizing its energy industry. There was a much more in-depth article here. I can't read it for some reason on my desktop, or on my laptop, I should say, but I've already read this particular article, which is a much more in-depth, and it goes over what's going on in Mexico in terms of their energy industry. And why is this important? Is because we're seeing more companies, or more countries, I should say, and their governments moving forward to nationalize their energy sectors. And this is going to continue to cause energy shortages worldwide because production will fall. And if you're living in Mexico, in the early, I want to say, I believe it was in 1938, Mexico had did this before, where they had nationalized their energy sector, and then as a result of that, they experienced shortages. The quality of life and their standard of living went down. And so America is showing Mexico, um, because what happened was you had some American energy companies that went into Mexico, started producing oil, started refining oil, and they became more competitive than the national company that was doing business in Mexico. And so it pushes out, in essence, Mexican owned uh, oil for foreigners. And the foreigners can do it better in your own country. You're still generating money for that country. They're paying taxes. They're creating jobs. So that creates the standard of living goes higher because the oil prices, right, the energy prices starts to go lower. So that money that would go to the energy companies uh, because of lack of competition, because of high prices, because of not doing the job adequately, which is what competition creates. Competition within industries, it starts to lower prices as the different companies start to compete against each other. But when there's only one company, where it's the government, right? The government basically becomes a monopoly, whether it's the government or whether it's another company, which you typically don't see without the use of force, without the utilization of force by the state, where companies can petition the lobby the state to get no win contracts, and so in essence become monopolies, and you can't do that in a free market. And so Mexico, in essence, removing oil from the free market will only cause prices to go higher, as the Mexican government basically becomes the only source of competition. And in that scenario, even when you look back at what Mexico had done, they the oil prices and the cost of electricity and the cost of energy basically went up 50%. And so that's basically what America is telling the Mexican president, that if you go this route, like, and this is what it was before. But the problem is that what they feel is that they don't own the means of production. That's basically what it is. And that's what governments want to do. When governments want to go the route of dictatorships and communism, they want to seize the means of production instead of having, agriculture and their energy industries in the hands of the private sector, in the hands of entrepreneurs who are going to go out and find the best sort of people, right, to work in their company. Just like if you go to the hospital, right, you want to have access to the best doctors that you can afford. And so that causes competition, as hospitals then have to compete for the best resources, and those are doctors and nurses, etc. And so what that does is that lowers the overall cost to the consumer. And so then that money that the consumer would have spent on healthcare or on oil or on food then goes to other industries. And so what it does is it allows for job creation. When you remove that, either through fascism, which is kind of what you see in America, where you have like state-driven capitalism. That might be what it's called. When it's state-driven, that's typically what you see, like in China. The bailouts that you see in American corporations, instead of allowing these corporations to fail, and then other corporations who are doing things more cost efficient, they will start to grow and create more jobs. You get a lot of these zombie corporations, which is what is happening and been happening in many countries, not just America, not just in Mexico. But moving forward, this is what you're going to see as countries start to go this route where everything is about, my people. The problem is that your people end up suffering as a result of your choices. You saw this in Venezuela. You're going to see this in Colombia. Colombia has chosen also to elect a leftist president, and one of the first things that he said about the energy sector is that we're going to take all these profits away and we're going to give them to the people. And of course, the people applaud this because it's free money, right? And if you can vote for free money and someone's going to give you free money, you're going to be like, shit, why not? But the problem is that that money that would be reinvested into the business so the business grows, then you can take on more employees, or you can get more quality machinery, or increase the quality of your infrastructure, so that, and then eventually that drives prices down. It's the same thing when nurses were doing the travel nursing, right? You had more nurses going into travel nursing, and so what did that do, right? Now the need for nurses wasn't as high as it was before, especially because they needed like ICU nurses or step down nurses, and now they just kind of have the need for med surg nurses. And so the I shouldn't say the quality of the work, but the expertise of the nurses that are needed, right? You don't need all these ICU nurses that are more technically advanced or understand how to work with more acute patients. Now you just have, regular patients. And so you need people to control the volume. And so that causes and that drives down prices because the qualifications that are needed are not as high. The patient care is not as acute. And then basically you have a glut of nurses that are going into traveling because of the high prices. And so what did that do? Right? Very quickly over time, the free market controls itself. And so now the prices of contracts are going down. And that's basically how the free market works. Yes, there will be ups and downs within prices, but when those prices go too high, people will quickly move into those areas, and they will drive the prices down as the supply starts to increase. The demand will start to go down, and you'll eventually get a price that the market will be able to bear. And then those people who then will move to different indices, right? They'll move to different jobs, etc. And this is what you would normally see in a free market. Unfortunately, we don't have a free market in many countries, not even here, to some extent in America. But the free market in America has long been gone for quite some time. But this is something to pay attention to, because obviously as countries start to do this, you're going to see lower amounts of available oil, and you need oil for shipping, food production, etc. So it's basically like a domino effect, and this is something that people should be paying attention to. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this here. Leave your comment below, and I'll check you next time.